Let's get right to it. If the red-hot Dallas Mavericks are going to shock the world and bring home the franchise's second NBA championship trophy, Luka Doncic's defense will be a major reason why it happens. You heard me right, his defense. Ever since he burst onto the NBA scene in 2018, the one big knock on Luka has been his defense. He's heard it all, from Kenyon Martin saying he couldn't guard a camera stand to Gilbert Arenas calling him another James Harden, a player who scores a lot of points but plays no defense. And maybe there was some truth to those insults, but not in these 2024 NBA playoffs. Luka's been dialed in on defense, and the results have been spectacular for the Mavericks. It's almost as if he flipped a switch after hearing his critics deride his defensive effort and hustle during his 6 years in the league. Whatever the case may be, we've seen Luka quietly turn into a plus defender, and ironically enough, some of his best defense in the first round was manning up on James Harden of all people. Harden is one of the best one-on-one isolation players of all time. Most guys in the league get cooked by Harden when they're left on an island in isolation with him. But Luka put on a masterclass, sliding his feet to stay in front of Harden to force him off his spots and using his long arms to challenge three-point attempts by closing out hard with his hands up. It was almost as if another player threw on a Doncic jersey out there. He showed off his entire bag of defensive tricks. Numerous times throughout the Clippers series, Doncic crowded a dribbling James Harden, not allowing him to get to the basket and forcing him towards the baseline, where defensive rookie sensation Derek Lively was ready and waiting to alter shot after shot. And when he wasn't baiting Harden and Paul George into forced shots and ill-advised drives into traffic, he was fighting through screens and hustling to stay with them to spoil what used to be easy open jumpers coming off of pick-and-roll plays. What had been easy pickings in the regular season turned into difficult contested shots once Luka decided to buy in on defense. Luka seemed to have an answer for everyone on the Clippers. Smaller, quicker players who usually eat up Doncic in transition did not fare well this time around. When Luka found himself guarding a hard-charging Terrence Mann or Russell Westbrook, he never panicked. Instead, he fundamentally slid his feet, stayed up on them, showed his hands, and either tipped the ball away for a steal or steered them right into the lane, where Lively and Daniel Gafford made life difficult all series long. We saw more of the same much-improved defense from Luka Doncic in the Western Conference semifinals against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It seemed like Luka was everywhere. His one-on-one defense, which was almost non-existent during the regular season, was all world level against OKC. Time after time, Luka was hustling back in transition, filling in the gaps to prevent drives in the lane. He even stalled and stopped the great Shai Gilgeous-Alexander a bunch of times when the two were paired up on switches. Normally, SGA would be salivating at the sight of Luka being the only man standing in his way of the bucket. But it was different in this series. Luka was willing himself to stay in front, forcing SGA into way too much east-west dribbling, keeping him from getting downhill at every turn. What OKC assumed would be easy drives turned into lots of off-balance mid-range jumpers or total offensive resets that died without much of anything developing. Luka's defense played a big role in holding the potent OKC attack in check for much of the six-game series. So how did no one see this Luka Doncic defensive awakening coming? After all, the Dallas Mavericks became a defensive powerhouse during the final stretch run of the regular season. Deals made at the trading deadline brought Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington aboard. Gafford added much-needed paint presence and rebounding, while Washington provided lockdown wing defense that the Mavs desperately needed to become a versatile and effective two-way powerhouse. Gafford and Washington quietly revolutionized the Mavs. They have some impressive numbers to back this up, too. The Mavs became the only team in NBA history to jump from 25th or worse in rebounds and blocks per game in their first 52 games to 10th or better in their last 30. They also saw their team defensive rating go from 22nd before the deadline to 7th after it, and their defensive rebounding rate to skyrocket from 26th in the league to 6th. And after allowing teams to shoot 1.5% better than average, Dallas held them to 1.9% below their average after the deadline. But while improved defensive metrics are great, getting lots of W's is the name of the game, and the W's certainly started piling up. The Mavs went 21-9 after the trade deadline and finished the year as the 5th seed in the West. This included a remarkable 16-2 stretch between March 7th and April 10th, where they had the league's #1 rated defense and the 4th rated offense. Mavs head coach Jason Kidd knows exactly what happened once Gafford and Washington arrived, saying, "We've said this since they've gotten here, over and over. We've been consistent that they've changed the culture. Our defense came when they arrived. Our defense changed when they got here. They're not going to complain. You don't have to run a play for them. They want to do whatever it takes for the team to win." Maybe that changed culture triggered something in Luka Doncic. Maybe he saw how big a difference playing great team defense could make for the Mavs. Either way, he's bought in 100% during the playoffs and will have to keep the defensive pressure up as the Mavericks gear up to take on the league's best team in the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics have been all business all season long. Their 64-18 record ties them for the 25th best regular season record of all time, placing them in the top 1% of all teams in the NBA's 77-year history. This season's Celtics journey has been marked by clinical efficiency and disciplined execution. Their victories, while impressive, have often felt routine and devoid of drama. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have consistently delivered, and the combination of Drew Holiday and Derek White form one of the best defensive backcourts the NBA has ever seen. Even with a hobbled and limited Kristaps Porzingis, who suffered a calf strain 5 weeks back in Game 4 of the first-round matchup with the Miami Heat, the Celtics can continue to rely on dependable veteran Al Horford for their post presence. So can the Mavericks, led by the sensational Doncic, whose blend of skill, vision, and flair makes him one of the most exciting players of all time, and his partner in crime, Kyrie Irving, an all-time great ball-handling and offensive wizard, continue to create magic on the court and keep highlight reel moments coming? It would be hard to bet against them. The Mavs eliminated 3 of the West's top 4 seeds thanks to their superstar duo, depth, and defense. Doncic and Irving consistently excelled in clutch situations. Irving has taken over the offense for long stretches throughout the playoffs, and Doncic has posted 6 triple-doubles as well as drilled a dramatic step-back game-winning three-pointer over 4-time Defensive Player of the Year Rudy Gobert, despite being hampered by a sprained right knee. Or will the Celtics finish out their brilliant year? They have repeatedly knocked on the championship door for most of the past decade. They've reached the East Finals 6 times in 8 years. They've played in and won more playoff games over that span than any other NBA team. Despite those numbers, however, this group has yet to win a title. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum seem on a mission to put the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals nightmare in the rearview mirror. Tatum would love nothing more than to erase the memory of twisting his ankle on the first possession of the game, and Brown would love for people to forget his 8-turnover, 1-for-9 from three-point land shooting stinker that resulted in a humiliating 19-point loss to the Jimmy Butler-led 8th seed Heat. Both Tatum and Brown have been brilliant in these 2024 playoffs. As Boston enters this series as the betting favorite, and with home court advantage, one question hangs over the Celtics' latest pursuit of banner number 18. Is this finally the year? The Celtics have rarely been pushed during a playoff run through a trio of opponents that were overmatched, injured, or both. Neither of those should be issues for the Mavericks, who have arguably the league's most explosive backcourt in Doncic and Irving, and unquestionably have the best player in the series in Doncic. We should be in for a tremendous matchup of contrasting styles and personalities. Let's hope it lives up to its billing, and we get a heavyweight matchup that goes the distance with both teams performing at their highest levels to create an NBA Finals for the ages.